Hello, I'm Javier Hakeem, and this is Harking Back, a podcast about the pop culture of a lifetime. Whose life? Mine. I'm going back through every year I've been alive and finding out what was going on in that year. This year is 1987. I'm looking forward to this one. A lot of juicy stuff I found when I was researching stuff for this one. I say research, I don't research, like when I was looking things up for it, okay? Research is way too strong a word. Anyway, you know how I roll. This is just an unedited, raw, just download of me talking, okay? So if you're looking for a slick podcast, this is not it. If you're looking for someone just kind of like having tangents and ill-formed kind of streams of consciousness, here you are. Welcome. Things that happened in 1987. Aretha Franklin is the first woman inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Nice one, Aretha. Now, I found this out. She was inducted by Keith Richards. There's a little video you can find of him like just being Keith. I think he is so fucked while he's doing it. I mean, you book Keith Richards, you get Keith Richards, right? And he's up there just kind of like doubled over the podium, just going, and he just says, "What can I say, baby? You're in." And the funny thing was, Aretha Franklin didn't even show up to this. Which I found just ridiculous, R-E-S-P-E-C-T, find it. All I want is a little respect. You're inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I'm not going. I'm out. Nice one, Aretha. Big middle finger there. PowerPoint is bought by Microsoft. I've never used PowerPoint. I hope I never have to, just because I've seen people use PowerPoint. And I swear, doing a presentation in PowerPoint takes years off people's lives. The frustration I've seen, I'm sure these days in the 2020s, it is streamlined as fuck and it's easy to use. I assume, like I say, I've never used it. But when I was growing up in the late 80s, early 90s, just seeing people, 90s, I never saw anyone use it in the 80s. In the 90s, just watching people use it, they would just slump over the computers. They would go through the 7 stages of grief. There was just anger and then bargaining, just pleading with the computer, just please put this fucking picture here. I've used Word a little bit, and anytime you use Word, it really sticks to itself because it's no, I'm here for words. You try to insert a picture in me, I'm going to shit the bed. I've never used Excel, or very, very rare. My wife is an Excel wizard. She'll solve the world's problems in Excel. I don't think I know how to use it at all. That was the Microsoft Office suite, right? Word, PowerPoint, Excel, and was there one more? I can't remember it. I can hear you screaming it at my neck. I just never used it. Can you believe the guy that barely ever had a job never used Microsoft Office suite? Never used it. And 87, KFC opens in Tiananmen Square. Why? I mean, I get it. They want to expand. I think by reports it did okay. And then everyone was like, Chinese food is so much better. I get it. Yes, you're in China. There was a whole genre of food dedicated to you guys. I don't get it why in countries that have amazing food, Italy, China, India, they try to have these chains, and I think they're just purely novelty, right? You're in China, have fucking Chinese food. It's so good here. It's the best. KFC, I think, was the only fast food my dad liked from the US. He liked fish and chips, and my family, I remember it was a big treat if we would go to KFC. And we'd never go to KFC. We'd bring it back home, and it would be the big buckets of chicken, and there was bean salad. Tell me if you remember this. There was a bean salad that KFC used to do that had beans in it, obviously, but it was kind of a bit more kind of vinegary kind of thing, and that's off the menu, and that's when we stopped having KFC because my dad loved the bean salad, and when that was off the menu, I think that was his kind of counterpoint, we're getting fried chicken, but look, it's bean salad, it's healthy. It was never healthy, Dad. It was never healthy, but that helped him live the lie. Anyway, when they took that off the menu, and I think about the mid-90s, that's when that shit stopped for us. Ugh. Also in 87, 78,000 people watch Hulk Hogan beat Andre the Giant in Michigan at the Pontiac Stadium in WrestleMania 3. It was WrestleMania 3. I can't believe it's 78,000 people. This is in 87. I know pro wrestling is huge now, but to think back in 87, was it bigger then? I remember as a kid, we would get the bubblegum cards that had, that era of wrestlers Macho Man Randy Savage, Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, Big Boss Man. I love the simplicity of wrestlers back then. Big Boss Man was a cop. He was a police guy. You know, there was Mr. Perfect, there was $1 Million Man who would just come out in like a tuxedo to wrestle in. There was a guy called Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and his big thing was he had a plank of timber. He would come out and they go, "Here's Hacksaw Jim Duggan with his famous 2x4." That was his prop. Cosplaying was so much easier back in the 80s. Just get yourself a plank of wood. Anyway, I was kind of into wrestling as a kid. I think it was more because other friends were into it and just you pick it up by osmosis. And then I didn't think about professional wrestling for about a few decades, and now it seems I can't escape it. Like I've got friends now, they just all seem to be wrestling fans. Anyway, I get it. It's the story. And everyone's always like, "Oh, wrestling's fake." Look at what they're doing and tell me you don't have to train for that shit. It's a bit like, I see wrestling these days more like Cirque du Soleil with better stories. You know? Like clearly it's taking years of training to do that shit. It's incredibly dangerous. And I think the guys that play villains love playing villains. That's what I want to be if I was one of these wrestlers. Be a heel. It's way more fun than being the hero. Fuck that. Or even be the hero and then turn heel. I remember when Hulk Hogan suddenly came out wearing all black and he was like, "Fuck Hulkamania," or I don't know. I wasn't watching it then. What am I talking about? Anyway, what else? Simpsons debuts in 87. Not as a series we know it as today, but it was an animated short as part of another show, The Tracy Ullman Show. Simpsons wouldn't get its own TV show until a few years later. And this is back in the day when you had the really kind of off-putting Simpsons animation that looks all kind of like not precise and a little bit kind of janky and a little bit nightmare-inducing, like that. Heard a story that apparently Matt Groening, the guy that made them, he was going to pitch some other comics he was doing, and just before the pitch meeting, he went, "Oh shit, this is my life's work. If I give them my comic that I've been working on, they'll own the rights to it." So he quickly made up some new characters, and apparently those were the Simpsons. So they were made up in a lobby before a pitch meeting, apparently, as the story goes. On TV, Full House debuts in 87. Oh my God, remember Full House? Everywhere you look, everywhere's a place. Bob Saget is this blew my mind, because Bob Saget, if you don't know Full House, it was a very wholesome family sitcom on TV in the US, and the dad of the family, Danny Tanner, was always the one that would kind of like kneel down and give the life lessons to his young daughters and be like, "Michelle, it's like this." And he was just the most wholesome dad. I didn't find out till years later, he is a stand-up comedian and he's a filthy motherfucker. It's so funny. It blew everyone's mind. There was a movie that came out called Half-Baked about weed. And in there's the guy that goes to like a weed, what do you call it? Like, Alcoholics Anonymous, but like for Weed Anonymous. And he stands up and he goes, "I'm addicted to weed." And then Bob Saget, a.k.a. Danny Tanner, the most wholesome family man from TV, stands up in this meeting and goes, "Weed is not an addiction. I suck dick for crack. You ever suck dick for weed? You're only addicted if you suck dick for it." And it was unbelievable. It was just watching this. It was like watching your teacher admit that they're blowing people in the alley for drugs. It was absolutely nuts. If you remember Full House, they had like the dad, and he had like also living in the house. I can't remember what the relationship was, but you had Uncle Jesse and Uncle Joey. And Uncle Joey was the funny one, and Uncle Jesse was the cool one. And I liked Uncle Joey because he was funny, but Uncle Jesse had Aunt Becky, and Aunt Becky was maybe the first lady I ever saw on TV where I was like, I'm starting to feel things. I think I get it now. I think I get why men marry women. I get it. Because you get to be with people like Auntie Becky. And I remember thinking at the time, do I want to be funny or like Uncle Jesse? And I was like, fuck funny. And like this Uncle Jesse, look what Uncle Jesse gets. Right? Fool. Look at what I've become. The other reason I remember Full House, really funnily, no one else in the world would have got this unless you're in New Zealand. There was an episode in Full House where one of the big girl, Stephanie, likes a boy, and she's at the airport for some reason, and she follows this boy that she likes onto a plane, which is just something you could do in the 80s. Just wander onto a plane before it takes off. And they forget to leave the plane, and they go, "Where's this plane going?" And this guy has an awful accent. I think it's supposed to be New Zealand. And he goes, "Auckland." And they think he says Oakland, which is just across the bay from San Francisco. And then they realize it's Auckland, New Zealand. And she turns to the camera and just goes, "Auckland, New Zealand?" And New Zealand rejoiced. We were mentioned on a fucking major American sitcom We were so happy with this. I think it actually might have made the news. Anyway, the ad played all the time on TV. Well, like, the segment, like watch Full House, and it would show that little segment, and everyone was like, "We got mentioned on a US show." This is why we are like we are. Married with Children also started in 87. I wasn't allowed to watch this. A lot of kids at my school were allowed to watch it, and they'd come and talk about it, make jokes about it. I wasn't allowed to watch it, but I could hear my parents cackling away from the lounge. I don't know. It looked really good. I think the jokes were all kind of samey. I don't know. I've seen little clips from later on. Who was it? The chick from it? Christina Applegate? Is that the one that played the girl? Yeah, I had a crush on her. Who didn't? It was the 80s. I said it was the 90s. It was the 80s. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles debuts in 87, the TV series. Loved it. Look, I looked back at a few clips and I'm like, it was a bit of a goofy show. This is the problem when you have heroes for a TV show that are violent by nature, like ninjas, but cannot be violent because of standards. Like Leonardo just never uses his swords unless they're on robots. And that's why they made the Foot Clan all robots, because you can beat the shit out of robots and that's no problem. Some differences in the UK, I found out, because people know about Ninja Turtles here in the UK, but I don't think they were as popular because of some things. They had to change the name from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles, because the UK was a bit scared about ninjas at the time. Apparently there was a whole violence thing going on, and nunchucks were changed to like a hook weapon for Michelangelo, and also any footage of Michelangelo using his nunchucks on people was cut in the UK. So it just sucks. You can see some side-by-side comparison clips where you see Michelangelo using nunchucks, which is awesome, and then they show what the UK saw, and it's just Michelangelo going, "Okay, come at me," and then it just cuts to guys being like slammed up against the wall, and it makes no sense. I get it, why that maybe didn't take off so much. The intro of Ninja Turtles, infinitely better than anything you saw on the show. I'm just going to say, you go back and watch the actual show now, like it's goofy, and yes, it's made for kids, and I was a kid, that's why I loved it, but the intro was so hardcore. Like the animation is so much deeper, and the turtles are like in shadows, and they look like they're fucking hardcore. Go back and watch the intro, and then watch any clip from the show, and it's infinitely better than the intro. Believe me. Something weird I found out that happened in 87. There was a Pennsylvania state treasurer called R. Bud Dwyer, who was facing some charges, and the day before he was going to be sentenced, those charges that kind of, I don't know, I hear them, I honestly don't know what they mean. Things like, I know what fraud is, but like racketeering. What the fuck is racketeering? I don't know. I could Google it. I'm not going to right now. Every time I hear racketeering, I just think of like gangsters going, racket. Anyway, this guy in the States was going to be sentenced for a bunch of shit he did, and he calls a press conference, and he reads out a 21-page letter, and then he pulls a handgun out of a folder and goes, "If anyone," what do you say? "Please leave the room if this will affect you," and then shoots himself on TV. A lot of this was live. He just fucking committed suicide live on TV. What the fuck? I don't want to see clips of that. I want to see clips of cutting back to the studio and having news reporters just staring wide-eyed like deer in the headlights straight down the barrel of the cameras going, we'd like to apologize for that fucking shit show you all just saw. I wonder if anyone was just standing there just going, I can't continue right now. I wonder if anyone tried to explain it away. Like he's, no, that's a toy gun. He's sleeping. He's fine. Anyway, back to the news. What else? In 87, Starbucks is bought. Like the rights for Starbucks are bought from the people that made it have, at the time it had 6 stores, and then it ballooned. Fuck Starbucks, man. Every time I see Starbucks, it just makes me, ugh. I never want to drink coffee there. I only buy coffee from Starbucks if there's nothing else available. I don't know. It just feels wrong on some level. I don't know. I know. It's so hypocritical to just sitting here going, I don't like drinking Starbucks, but I'll buy every other fucking product under the planet. Just something about Starbucks. I don't like it. What else? Beastie Boys played a tour in the UK, and on their last show in Liverpool, they incited a riot. Like the audience threw stuff, they threw stuff. Ad-Rock, or Adam Yauch, no, not Adam Yauch, Adam Horowitz was arrested for throwing a beer can that apparently hit an audience member in the face. Next day, they were released on bail, and then years later, MCE, the other Adam in the group, Adam Yauch, admitted, it was actually me that threw the beer can. Sorry, bro. Just want to let you know. This is why it's pretty handy to have two Adams in a trio. Take the heat. CD video is introduced. CD video, as that's what I said. I said it pretty quickly. So you can have video on CDs. They put music on CDs, and now they've got video. However, because of the way they recorded it, it was an analog, so they could only hold about 5 minutes of video. Fucking technology! 7-Up launches a new drink, 7-Up Gold, which is cinnamon flavored and looks like piss. It's discontinued in 89. Back to 7-Up. Andy Warhol died, the guy that drew the Campbell soup. Apparently did a lot of things, but every time you hear Andy Warhol, you just think the soup can. He got done for that. Done for that? He is famous for that. He didn't get done for that. He's famous for that. I wanted to move on. Okay, those were the kind of like incidentals. These are the things I want to talk about. I want to launch into the video games first for 87, because this is where some fucking bangers start coming out. I normally do the top 5 video games, songs, and movies. This time I'm only going to do, this time for video games. There's no top 5, because this was really hard to pin down an accurate list, because there's lots of different charts you find, but some are like for the Japanese market, some are for the US market, some are for arcade versus home console or PC. It was really hard to pin down and find a definitive top 5, so no top 5 this week. I'm hoping we'll get to a year where it's a lot more stabilized. Okay, but I'm going to talk about the big ones. Anyway, Afterburner came out in 87. By the way, Afterburner, that one that would have been hugely popular after Top Gun. You can imagine Sega, they would have watched, or Sega, as we called it in New Zealand, would have watched Top Gun and gone, make me an air combat game right now, and it made shitloads. Always looked better than it played. I mean, look, it was pretty repetitive, let's be honest. Punch-Out comes out in 87. I laughed my ass off playing this game. I think I played about 10 minutes of it, and because the fighters you fight against in this boxing game get harder and harder, you start off easy, right? And I think one of the first guys you fight against is like this geriatric pensioner called Gabby Joe, and he came out, and I was like, what the fuck? I'm going to beat up an old man. And he comes out, and he does a little starting animation, and he puts his fist up, and he just says, in the weakest voice I've ever heard in a video game, he just goes, yay! And then I punched him out, and I almost wet myself laughing. It just felt so wrong, punching out this grandpa. Zelda 2 comes out in 87. Final Fantasy, the original Final Fantasy, not Final Fantasy 7 or Final Fantasy 12 or Final Fantasy Spirits Within or nothing. Just Final Fantasy comes out in 87. Found out why it's called Final Fantasy. It's because the guy who made it, a guy called Hironobu Sakaguchi, said that this was his last roll of the dice. Like if this failed, he was going to give up the gaming industry, go back to college. So well done. Glad for you, mate. Glad for you, Hironobu. Your Final Fantasy came true over and over and over and over and over and over. I've never understood. I've never played them, but apparently they're not chronological. Apparently each Final Fantasy game is totally standalone, a bit like Black Mirror. I don't know. So if you can tell me why Final Fantasy like 7 through to 10, if there's a continuing story, I don't get it. I just don't get it. Anyway, Metal Gear, the original Metal Gear comes out in 87. I've never liked stealth games, never been a fan of stealth games. My flatmate Gareth was hugely into Metal Gear. I couldn't get into it. I tried one last year that was like, this is a stealth game made great, which was called Mark of the Ninja. And I was like, it's just fine. They're just, you know what? I don't want to play video games to sneak around. You know, if I want to sneak around, I'll just try to socialize as a 40-year-old. Like, I want to, in video games, I want escapism. You know, I want to plow through enemies. I stopped playing GTA 5 the second it made me buy a property and it said, by the way, you're going to have to come back and manage this property. I went, no, fuck this, I'm out. I don't want to play video games to come back and check on my property like it's virtual Airbnb. Fuck that. No. I want to play video games for fun. Anyway, what else? Mega Man. Fucking classic Mega Man. Mega Man hasn't actually changed that much since the original Mega Man. Because the formula was perfect back then. My cousins and I were playing Mega Man 2 to death. And my cousin could clock it. And we'd all sit down and watch him clock it. It was really good. It was great. It was like Twitch original. Just 3 guys in a bedroom watching one guy play a game. And all going, ooh, and well done. It was great. Street Fighter. The original Street Fighter comes out in 87. Ryu vs. Sagat. All that stuff. It had to come from somewhere. I mean, Street Fighter, talk about sequels that are better. Street Fighter 2 kicks the shit out of Street Fighter, but had to start somewhere. Bubble Bobble comes out, the arcade game with the little the dragons that shoot the bubbles. I mentioned this because when I went flatting for the first year, we went with two guys, Ryan and Gareth, and Ryan's dad used to fix arcade cabinets, and we got an arcade cabinet in our lounge, and the game on it was Bubble Bobble, and we got so fucking good at this game because what we said was whoever had the lowest score had to do the dishes. All right, so we became fucking. It's probably the best at a game I've ever been at. You know, for this game that was designed to make you die over and over again and to keep pumping quarters or dollars into, we got so fucking good at this game, and to the point where we realized you could had a glitch in some levels, like a boss you didn't actually have to kill if you just scored enough points while you were beating him. The game would let you progress anyway, things like that, and we just got so fucking good at this game. And then I remember I was traveling through Wellington, New Zealand for something else, and I stumbled into a comic book store, and they had an arcade machine of Bubble Bobble in there, and a kid was playing it, and he died immediately because he sucks, right? And he wasn't a fully grown man who would spend all his time when he should have been studying for university playing Bubble Bobble. And I said, "Oh, kid, do you mind if I have a little go?" And he goes, "Yeah, it's pretty hard." And I put in my 20 cents. And I fucking ripped through this game, and this kid looked at me like I was a time traveler. Oh, it was probably the most admiration I've ever had in my life. That was Bubble Bobble. Songs that came out in 87. U2 released the Joshua Tree with bangers like Where the Streets Have No Name, I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For, or With It Without You. They had a great year in 87. Oh, Michael fucking Jackson is back on this podcast again because this year he releases a follow-up to his Thriller album with Bad. It had really good songs on it. It had Bad, The Way You Make Me Feel, Man in the Mirror, Smooth Criminal. I'm so fucking sick of Michael Jackson. The guy was absolutely winning the 80s. He was the guy who just won Monopoly, but Monopoly was a real world for him, and he's just dominating. This guy was the real Taylor Swift of his day. Michael Jackson walked so Taylor Swift could run. I don't think I ever heard of a name for Michael Jackson fans. I don't know. I'm sure right now you guys are calling them deranged. It's so weird. His music was so good, but his life was so plagued by controversy. My wife just refuses to hear any bad word about Michael Jackson. She's like, no, nothing bad happened. I'm like, did you not see the documentaries? Shit happened. She's like, no. I wish I'd bought tickets to his concert. What would you call Jackson fans? Jackals? I'm going to call them jackals. By the way, if you were sticking to 1 year for music that you'd ever listen to for the rest of your life, you could do a lot worse than 1987. Some absolute fucking tunes come out in 87. Things like Living on a Prayer by John Bon Jovi. Don't Dream It's Over, Crowded House. I Think We're Alone Now by Tiffany. Moni Moni by Billy Idol. Land of Confusion by Genesis. Hip to Be Square, Huey Lewis and the News. I always think of that scene in American Psycho when you hear Hip to Be Square, when Christian Bale beats Jared Leto to death with an axe. Is that beating someone to death with an axe? Because it's still a blunt. Do you consider an axe a blunt or a sharp weapon? Like, it's not a stabby. No one gets stabbed by an axe. You get bludgeoned with an axe, don't you? Hacked? Okay, I'm going to say he was hacked to death. Jared Leto is hacked to death by Christian Bale to this song, Hip to Be Square. It's really unnerving. Little Lies by Fleetwood Mac comes out. Faith by George Michael. Fucking tune! And a little song called Never Gonna Give You Up by Rick Astley. The origin of the Rickroll. Rick Astley, this was a huge hit for him. And obviously it's the meme, the Rickrolling that we all know now. Imagine if you told Rick Astley back in 87, by the way, mate, in 30 years' time, this song is still going to be incredibly popular. And he'd be like, oh, wow, I can't believe I've touched so many people and they'll be dancing to it in 3 decades. No, they're not going to be dancing to it, mate, sorry. And you'd be like, oh, if they're not dancing to it, maybe it's they're savoring it and saving it for special occasions. Is that the deal with my song? Like, no, not really. What's going to happen, Rick, is your song that you've worked very hard on, and it's doing very well for you now, decades from now, what's going to happen is people are going to be enticed to click on something appealing or a piece of information that they're looking for, and they're going to be taken to a video of your song. And are they going to be happy? No. No, they're going to feel immediately disappointed and very foolish and embarrassed and seek revenge immediately. Sorry, Rick. The top 5 songs this year. I mean, I think it's kind of criminal what other songs came out this year, but this is the top 5. Anyway, Nothing's Gonna Stop Us by Starship. Oh, okay, that's a good one. That's a damn good one. That's a great anthem. Nothing's gonna stop us now, which was from the movie Mannequin, which is a movie that would get torn to shreds these days. It's about a guy that has to set up displays in a store window, and he uses a mannequin that he falls in love with, and eventually she comes to life. And it just feels like it's a step away from the 60-minute interview of like, so you married your sex doll? Yeah, I wrote a song about it too. It's a pretty good song. Number 4, I Want to Dance with Somebody by Whitney Houston. If there was ever a song that got girls, especially, onto the dance floor, it is I Want to Dance with Somebody. With somebody who loves me. I remember I did a few pub crawls back in the day. They would call it, what are they called? Like bus pub crawls? In New Zealand, like in other cities, you could just walk from like bar to bar to bar. In New Zealand, they would do these things where you would get on a bus, a party bus, and they'd take you out to these rural pubs, right? And you get on a bus and just this tiny little empty, quiet pub will just be filled with drunk 20-nothings for about 40 minutes. And then everyone would get back on the bus, and you probably lose 1 or 2 each way, and you go to another rural pub, and then another rural pub, and then another rural pub, and then they drop you back in town, to become society's problem. Just unleash this drunk busload of fuckwits out into the town. Anyway, the song that got people going every time was Whitney Houston's I Want to Dance with Somebody. It didn't matter how early in the night it was or how drunk people were. Like, this summoned the ladies to the dance floor, which in turn summoned the hopeful males to the dance floor right behind them. Yeah. Number 3 was a song called Shake You Down by Gregory Abbott. I'd never heard of it, and then I listened to it, and it's very much one of those kind of slow R&B, girl, you do things to my body. And, like a lot of those R&B ones that kind of blame the girl, like, oh, you know what you're doing to me, oh, but you don't care, that kind of thing. Not really my jam. Number 2 was Alone by Heart, which was the How Do I Get You Alone? I laughed my ass off one time. I saw an ad. It was a great ad, but I can't remember the company, so maybe not that great an ad. But it was for financial. It was a bank ad or for loans or something, and it had a mandarin, and anthropomorphic mandarin. So it was a mandarin, the fruit, with a mouth, and it was singing, how do I get you, not alone as in by yourself, but how do I get you a financial loan? And I was saying, how do I get you alone? I had a good chuckle. It was good. And number 1, Walk Like an Egyptian by the Bangles. I introduced this to my wife. She'd never heard of it. And then we sang it together on Lips. Do you remember Lips? That game, that karaoke game on Xbox 360? And it would come with microphones and you'd sing it. Anyway, she hadn't heard it. We played this and she loved it. The Bangles also do Manic Monday. And this whole one was like Walk Like an Egyptian with that whole kind of like arms at kind of like Z angles and you kind of move them in and out. Is this song too racist to be made these days? Walk like an Egyptian? Like, explain the song. Well, you're going to walk like, that stereotypical idea that we all have of ancient Egyptians. Oh, yeah, good. Get her. Cancel her. Anyway, those are top 5. Actually, they're not too bad top 5s. I just liked the other songs that came out that year way more. On to movies this year. This is top 5 movies worldwide, according to Box Office Mojo. The songs, by the way, were by Billboard. I think they're pretty credible sources. Anyway, number 5, top 5 movies of 87, Moonstruck with Cher. I think it's really good, although I haven't seen it. I think it's really good. I think it's really good for Cher. I think she really liked being in it. And you know what? Well done, Cher, for being fucking nailing the music industry and being a really talented actress at this time as well. Like, what else did she do? She did this, and now I'm going to forget everything else she was in. She did a really good job in Burlesque. Oh, God, sorry. I can feel Cher going, are you comparing my work in Moonstruck to fucking Burlesque? No, Cher, I'm sorry. I'm just ignorant. Please forgive me. Number 4 was Good Morning Vietnam. I have a confession. I've never watched Good Morning Vietnam, even though it's supposed to be a really poignant movie, and it's one of Robin Williams's iconic performances. Sorry, haven't seen it. I just know that he screams "Good Morning Vietnam" into the microphone. I've seen plenty of other Vietnam movies. Okay, I'm not anti Vietnam movies or anything like that. Just haven't seen this one. Beverly Hills Cop 2. Again, never saw Beverly Hills Cop 1. Didn't watch Beverly Hills Cop 2. I'm sure it sounds like Beverly Hills Cop 1 was better. I don't know. If you watched them both, let me know. Number 2, Fatal Attraction. I did see this one. This is one with Michael Douglas and Glenn Close. And he has an affair, and this woman it just will not leave him alone. I know it sounds like, oh, you can't even have an affair without these women just coming at you. But this is fucking terrifying. This psychological thriller. This is the Boyle Bunny one. So he has the affair, and then she just won't stop leaving him and contacting him, and then she finds out where his family lives, and she boils the family's bunny. Ugh. Especially as a married man now, I find this movie fucking terrifying. And makes you, if you want your man to not have an affair, make him watch Fatal Attraction, right? And just go, yeah, this could happen. All right, you never know who's crazy out there, and Glenn Close does a great job of being fucking crazy. It's weird. Like, we got to the point now when my wife and I first got together, she was like, okay, by the way, if you ever cheat on me, I'm going to cut your dick off. Okay, you understand? I'm cutting your dick off if you ever cheat on me. And now we've been married for a long time, and we've got a little girl, and it's got to the point now where she's like, by the way, if you ever cheat on me, and it was just like a one night thing, one night stand, don't fucking tell me. Okay, you just bury that. Bury it, okay? If it just were one night only, bury it, never tell me. And if you suddenly get like, oh, I just couldn't keep it from you any longer and I just had to be honest, like, fuck you. Don't be that selfish. Don't tell me. Bury it and carry on, all right? For this family. And I get it now. I'm very much the same. If she had something like that happen, I'd be like, never tell me. My jealousy would just get too much in the way. Just couldn't get over it. Couldn't get over it. Yeah. That was a lot of insight into our relationship, wasn't it? And number 1, 3 Men and a Baby. 3 Men and a Baby. Who was it? Steve Guttenberg, Tom Selleck, and Ted Danson. It's the classic baby turns up on their doorstep sort of thing. And it's 87, and it's a comedy because it takes 3 men to look after a baby, and they suck at it. This movie wouldn't be made today. Can you imagine the outcry? Like, you'd have like soppy dads all over the internet, like making their TikToks going like, hey, I'm a dad and I do all this, okay? Okay, this movie is offensive. Yeah, but it was 87, mate. It was 87. Like, the male-female, household dynamic, or what was standard back then, was way different to what it is now. And it was just hilarious to watch 3 men not know how to put on a nappy or not know what to feed the baby. You know what? If it was a realistic movie, 3 men kill a baby through negligence. I know nothing. I had to learn everything. My daughter was born 2017. I didn't know anything. Had to learn very quickly. All right? That's for people around you telling you, okay, this is what you do. This is what you have to do. If I was left alone with a baby, it wouldn't have been good. This is about to take a very dark turn, but it wouldn't have been good. All right? So, again, with this top 5, good movies, but nothing compared to the other fucking gold that comes out in 87 in terms of movies. You got things like Spaceballs, The Lost Boys, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Dirty Dancing comes out in 87. Yes, that classic. That song as well. Why was that song not in the top 5? The Dirty Dancing thing. Now I've had the time of my life. You put that on. That's another, just like the Whitney Houston song. You put that on, and girls come running to the dance floor, and they just start like singing it, and they love it. And everyone's looking for that iconic lift at the end. Don't ever do this. Don't ever try this. Oh, fuck it. Try it and film it and show me, because I want to see the no doubt horrendous outcome of this. Anyway, my sister, my older sister, she loved this movie. I think that's how I watched it. It was one of those movies I never watched start to finish, but she put it on so much, you just end up watching different chunks and then piecing it together in your head and going, oh, okay, I get it. Oh, also in that movie, that song "She's Like the Wind," that's Patrick Swayze singing that. I didn't know that. Apparently, they'd run out of budget and they needed a certain song. At the time, they're like, we can't afford the song we want. We're gonna have to look at other songs. And Patrick Swayze went, I wrote a song. If anyone cares, and they're like, they listened to it and like, Jesus Christ, this is amazing. Patrick Swayze's mum was a dancer, which is why he's such a good dancer. Anyway, my sister loved this movie so much. And one year I got her for her birthday Dirty Dancing, the video game. It was some PC game, and it was absolute shit. I think it was absolute shit. I think it was more the novelty I got it for her. But it was like you could go around the country club where it's set and do things, and then at the end maybe fall in love with the dancer. I don't know. It was just a bag of shit. But I got it for her, and I should go back and play it sometime and documented it. What else came out in 87? Oh, a little movie called The Princess Fucking Bride. Not The Princess Fucking Bride. That sounds like a porno kind of version of... It's The Princess Bride, which is incredible. It's one of the best movies ever made. You watch it as a kid, and it's a beautiful adventure story with awesome fighting and characters and stakes. And I remember it was the first movie I watched as a kid where I was like, oh my God, then people could die. Like when they kidnap Buttercup and like he goes and sees Vicini, the guy that's got the poison, right? And he holds a knife to her throat and he gets a bit closer and he presses the knife into her throat harder. I was like, Jesus Christ, man, he's going to kill her. Yeah. It's such a good movie. And then you watch it as an adult and you realize it is such a funny movie. Like you get all the nostalgia, but you watch it again, you're like, fuck me, this is actually hilarious. Like the whole sequence with Miracle Mike, with Billy Crystal playing Miracle Mike. Like there's just a little, the timing of delivery of lines in this movie is so good. Give us the gate key. What gate key? Fezzik, rip his arms off. Oh, you mean this gate key? Shit like that. It's so fucking funny. Oh, absolute classic. But 87 was not without its absolutely testosterone-fueled action movies like Lethal Weapon, Full Metal Jacket. Oh, God, I love Full Metal Jacket. I used to go back and just watch the scenes of the drill sergeant yelling shit at them. Like that whole super sarcastic, delivered in a barking tone, I always find hilarious. Like when he's saying to her, like, fuck, I like you. You can come home, fuck my sister. That shit I would find so funny. Just little jokes, but delivered in a very serious manner, where no one is allowed to laugh at it as well in this barracks. Love Full Metal Jacket. Masters of the Universe came out, the He-Man movie. It wasn't that bad. A lot of people give it shit. It wasn't that bad. Go back and watch it. I dare you. Like, it's not bad. It's pretty good, actually. And also think about the target audience. It was made for 13-year-old boys. And I was a 5-year-old? I didn't watch it in 87. I'll watch it later. But, it was made for 13-year-old boys. When I watched it, when I would have been about like 8, I would have been going, oh, I'm not even supposed to watch this. So that's why I loved it. It was great. And it had swords and a young Courtney Cox. And the Crystal Key. Anyway, it was great. Wasn't that bad. Also, Living Daylights comes out in 87. Again, not that bad. Timothy Dalton gets a lot of shit for being like the worst Bond. He just took Bond seriously, and I think if he hadn't come directly after Roger Moore, he would have been doing a lot more movies. I've said it before. Roger Moore, the worst Bond. I'll say it. I said it. He was the worst Bond. Predator comes out in 87. Holy shit. If you want a perfect genre-changing act, like this starts off as like an 80s jungle action movie and then turns into fucking Manhunt. What a great way. What they do in this movie is they set up this team of elite commandos who go in where others have failed to do this mission, and they just like the mission is a cakewalk. They just go in, they just like shit all over everyone, and they're like, yeah, look at us, look at what our biceps did, and then they're being hunted and picked off one by one by this mysterious alien. So you've just seen that these guys are the best of the best, and now they're getting fucked by this monster. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Little bit of tidbit of information you probably already knew. Jean-Claude Van Damme was the original Predator. He was a guy in this Predator suit. They had a different style costume for the Predator in early production. They filmed some stuff, and then a producer came in and went, what the fuck is that? It looks like a fly on steroids. And so they had to do a total redesign, and Jean-Claude Van Damme got fired. Sorry, Jean-Claude. Don't worry. You'll make it back. RoboCop came out as well. RoboCop, oh shit. I had a kid in my school obsessed with RoboCop. I hadn't seen it yet. I had to wait till it was like, when I'd watch movies I wasn't supposed to be watching? Either when I'd convince my parents that it was okay, or sneak watching it when my parents were in bed, or at friends' birthday parties, sleepovers. And friends' birthday party sleepovers were always great because you're going to get food, you're going to hang out with your friends, we're going to play some video games, and then we're all going to sit in our sleeping bags and watch movies we're not supposed to watch. And that's when I watched RoboCop. It was great. And this kid who was obsessed with RoboCop, all he wanted every Christmas and birthday was a RoboCop suit. And I'm glad he never got it, because it never would have lived up to the expectation of what a 9-year-old has in their head. Never, ever. By the way, in RoboCop, there's that guy that at the end, one of the bad guys, he gets mutated, and then he has to go and do his death scream or whatever, go up to his friend going, "Help me, I'm mutated," and then he gets run over by a truck and his body explodes. That is fucking acting, by the way. Because before they would have done that, with putting all the prosthetics on him, the director's going, "Okay, what's happened is you've just fallen into radioactive ooze, your body is falling apart, you're terrified, you're going to go ask your friend for help, and then you're going to get run over by a truck, okay? Use it, find the moment, and action." That's fucking acting. Nailed it. Oh, so those are some great movies that came out in 87. We also look at Times Person of the Year. In 87, it was Mikhail Gorbachev, who saw out the Soviet Union. Look, he came in there to the Soviet Union, he took power, and the balls it takes to come into that position and go, "Look, this shit here ain't working. All right? We're going to need to just kind of slowly stop doing this." He's like the James Gunn of the Cold War. In 87, Berlin Wall comes down. A lot of people wanted to do shit to stop the Cold War. A woman swam between USA and Russia in like Arctic waters or freezing waters to kind of like, "Please end the war." Does this do anything? Do people hear, "Hey, sir, someone swam a really long way? Shit, we should end the war." I don't know if it happens that way. A German teenager stole a plane and flew it into fucking Red Square to, quote, ease tensions. Try that nowadays. Steal a plane, fly it into the heart of Russia. You'll get shot down. Little tidbit about 87. At the end of 1987, they had added an extra second onto the end of 87. This was to line up atomic clocks with regular clocks. So 1987 got an extra second. What was going on in my life in 87? That was my first year of school. I was 5, and when you turn 5, you go to school. I remember my first day at school. The teacher was like, "Does anyone know how to spell the?" And every other kid knew how to spell the, and I didn't. And I felt like, oh my God, school is going to be so hard. We moved into our house. We'd been living in a motel while our house was being built. Moved into it. And in this area, there was nothing except other houses being built. And me and my friends would go and play on construction sites. In the 80s, like you kind of just go, "We're going out playing," and your mum didn't say shit. She just said, "Be home for dinner." And we would go and play on construction sites of houses. Top tip, foundation concrete on construction sites is so smooth, and it's the best concrete for doing skids on your bike on. It's great. I remember when I started school, I was the only foreign kid at school. No one could get my name, even to this day. But it was even worse in the 80s. Like, I was the only non-New Zealand kid in there. And then the next year, we got like a Taiwanese new student. And she didn't speak much English. And she would say stuff. And the kids would go to me, "Harv, what's she saying?" And I was like, "I don't fucking know." You know what she's saying? She's saying he doesn't have a clue because he speaks fucking Spanish. All right? Okay. My dad I think my parents were a little bit concerned, and they were just so super racially defensive, just really, to help back me in case I experience any racism, right? And I remember one time I came home early on, I said, "Dad, one of the kids asked me why I'm brown." And I remember the kid asked me, it wasn't like, "Hey, why are you brown?" It was just purely curiosity, right? Because Christchurch was very white. And he was like, "Why is your skin brown?" Like, if anything, it was like, he's trying to understand. And I said to my dad, "The kid asked why I'm brown." And my dad turned around and said, "You ask him why he's pink." How about that? I was like, "Okay, Dad, calm down. Calm down. I don't think you meant it that way." I had my first year of school. Oh, look, this podcast has gone way longer than I thought it would anyway. I'm really enjoying these. Sorry, I know it comes off a little frantic and a little bit what the fuck is he saying? But I'm enjoying them. And thank you so much for listening and sharing and leaving reviews if you want to. Get involved in the discussion if you want. There's links to the Discord or under the posts or wherever you want to discuss it. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks very much. Bye.